The title of the talk is how to liberate yourself from suffering. So if you're coming here thinking that you're going to liberate yourself from suffering, end your suffering, I think you just wasted a trip across town, I think. The good news is that, or the bad news, depends on how you want to look at it, is you can't. Being born with this human body, this human mind, even the fully enlightened beings, the Buddha said, suffers. Yeah. So, but that's not to say that there's nothing we can do about it. We certainly can lessen our suffering. We certainly can work our way towards ending a lot of the stress, the suffering that we create for ourselves. And yeah, like I said, the good news is that one, it's not your fault. And two, there's something you can do about it. Ajahn Chah said, it is through ignorance that we suffer. It is through not seeing clearly the way things are. We take what is impermanent to be permanent. We take what is suffering to be happiness. And we take what is not self to be self. So a lot of times it's just through not seeing clearly that we suffer. We think having things will make us happier. Doing things makes us happier. But a lot of times it doesn't. So a lot of times it's just, it's just through a right perspective, through seeing clearly that we can lessen our suffering. We have a body, so it gets sick from time to time. It ages, gets old, doesn't work properly. And we don't like that. But a lot of times it's our reaction to this process that's causing a lot of the suffering. Right? Like the Buddha said, there's two kinds of suffering in the world. First is the physical suffering of old age, sickness, and death. Being separated from what you love. Being with unpleasant situation, being things that you don't like, and having things change. So that's first kind of suffering, is nothing we can do about it. Yeah. But the second suffering, which is a lot more, which is completely optional, is how we relate to the changing nature of the body, the changing nature of the world. Do we try to hold on to it, protect it? Do we grasp after it? To make more of a problem out of it. That's where a lot of the suffering comes from. And that's where we can do something about it. Through understanding, through clarity, through wisdom. So much of the world, when we meet with unpleasant things, the first reaction is natural. It's to run away from it. We don't want to know it. You have a backache. You want to take a pill to feel better, of course. You want to go to the fridge to eat something, to take your mind away from the suffering of having a bad back or a headache. And that's natural. But unfortunately, that only compounds things. So wherever there's suffering, there's also the end of suffering. There's also kind of the lessening of suffering. If we see it clearly, we understand, we investigate it. Yeah. So instead of running away from suffering, wanting to liberate ourselves, we should embrace suffering, accept it. That's part of the human condition. To have a body is to experience unpleasant feelings from time to time. To have a mind is also to experience anxieties, worries, depression, sadness. So there's joys and there's inspiration. But those negative emotions also come into the sphere of our existence, something we cannot get away from. But instead of running away from suffering, sometimes the thing to do is just to investigate it, to understand it, to know it. And it's through understanding, to knowing, that we transcend suffering. We can lessen suffering. If we don't learn about our mistakes, then we suffer. And you see it, so much of the day-to-day life. People said, Sydney. I get a lot of complaints about being in Sydney. Oh, the traffic's getting terrible, Bhante. And there's lots and lots of traffic. You sit in the car. There's just an outdoor parking lot, Sydney. I'm gonna go, and the rent is so expensive. You gotta pay, whatever, thousands of dollars for a 2-bedroom apartment. And it's an old house, and it's got leaking faucets, and the heater doesn't work, and the aircon doesn't work. It's all these problems in Sydney. It's terrible. But it's not entirely true. People say, "Oh, you must be so easy for monks to sit in the forest. It's so quiet. It's beautiful. People come and feed you." Wow. Believe it or not, there's also plenty of suffering in the forest. Just ask any of the residents. We had 3 Anagarikas. They came and they went. So obviously it's not paradise. But that shows, suffering is in the mind. It's not out there in the world. Sometimes we think it is, and then it's easy to say that, I'm suffering because I have a terrible boss. I'm suffering because my relationship is not going well. Suffering because I have a terrible body that breaks down, that hurts all the time, or doesn't work properly. That's where my suffering is. I'm suffering because I have this terrible mind that gets depressed all the time, or gets moody and gets whatever it is. But that's not entirely true. The suffering is how we relate to it. We embrace the discomfort of life. We embrace, we accept that things don't always go as planned in relationships. There are arguments from time to time. There are differences of looking at the world. We accept that the body gets sick from time to time. We accept that the mind doesn't have a good day. I've had plenty of terrible days in the monastery. And it's fine. You accept that, today is not a great day. You're going to die from it? Not really. A lot of times you see these mood swings that comes up and down, so you just kind of, instead of trying to distract ourselves from it, which is difficult to do when you're in a monastery, but you still can distract yourself. There's still things to do. There's still Reiki that you can do, or wood chopping, whatever. Well, last time you sit with it, trying to explore, what it feels, the tones of the suffering. Where is it in the body? And where is it that you're seeing wrong? Buddha says so clearly. The suffering arises from seeing not clearly. So what is it that I'm mistaking? Where is it that I'm not seeing properly? What is it that I'm attaching? What is it that I want that I'm not getting? That's the crux of suffering. Not getting what you want. And for some reason, we're kind of conditioned, raised. Do you think whatever we want, we should get? Who says that? That's not a promise that anyone made. But we live in this world that says, we should be peak happiness. The body should be peak fitness all the time. And then when we feel, we get a cold, we feel sick, we feel not so energetic, we get disappointed. Because a lot of times the expectation is so high. So much of the suffering is, like I said, wrong seeing, having wrong expectations. Expecting that, the body is always fine. Expecting people are good, are truthful, are nice. Expecting the boss to be enlightened. That never bullies you, never gives you so much work, just the right amount of work, always gives you the raise on time, promotes you, doesn't play politics. No, that's not how it works in the world. The world is the way it is. When the Buddha became enlightened 2,500 years ago, it wasn't perfect. There were wars, there were violence, there was injustice. But he changed his relationship to the world. He made peace with it. He understood the changing nature of reality and accepted it for what it was. And through that, he transcended suffering. But he still had a bad egg. He couldn't give talks for a couple, from time to time. Had a nana to give talks. Bad egg. He died of dysentery. Ate something rotten curry or something, and still died, right? So whether you're fully enlightened, you're still going to die. You're still going to be old. Bits and pieces of the body are still going to fall off from time to time. But that's not a problem. It's okay. The world changes. Things, bottom falls out of things from time to time. But hopefully, through accepting the world for what it is, through accepting change, through accepting that we will be separated from what we love, that we will have to be with something, a situation we not be crazy about. And I find that so much, of suffering is through fighting with the world the way it is. Sitting in traffic is not a problem. It's the thinking, this shouldn't happen. I should be somewhere else. The traffic should move faster. That is the problem. The fighting with the world is the problem. So hopefully as Buddhist practitioner, hopefully we learn or encourage just to accept things, to surrender to things, to make peace on a day-to-day basis, moment by moment. Whatever's happening, the traffic's not moving, that's okay. You still sit quietly here and be in the middle of the traffic. It's not the end of the world. You have a headache, bad back. That's okay. This is what it feels like to have a body. It feels like, to be in pain. And the more that we learn to be with things, the more that we accept things for what they are, it gives us kind of a certain confidence, a certain strength in the mind that we can be with unpleasant things. The things don't have to be perfect for us to be happy. The weather doesn't have to be perfect, and it's perfect today, but the weather doesn't have to be like this for us to be happy. We can be happy with freezing winter, with rain. It's still fine. It's all good. So sometimes just a slight change of perspective. Start thinking how the world should move according to our desires and wishes. That we set up our mind just to be with things the way they are. We accept, we try to learn from it. And there's a few tools that we can use on this road to kind of lessening the suffering. One is that, obviously, seeing things, investigating suffering. See, where is it that we're not seeing correctly? Another thing to develop is a mind of gratitude. To always look for what things that we already have instead of things that are missing. Sometimes we live in a world that are encouraged to be perfectionist. You are a perfectionist, you're asking for a lot of suffering. Because the world will never be perfect. You will never be perfect. Your partner won't be perfect. Your friends won't be perfect. Your co-workers won't be perfect. You try to fix things all the time. You're going to be very, very frustrated. But you can look at the things and see that it's good enough. That your body is not fully enlightened beings. He can have bad days and yell at you. He can be obnoxious. And that's okay. Still have a job. Hasn't thrown you out. That's fine. Sometimes meditation is not perfect. You sit and your mind goes all over the place. The body's itchy, aches. You can't sit for very long because you said, because as you get older, it's harder to sit. But that's still okay. This great karma of coming into contact with Buddhism, of learning how to meditate, of having the potential, the encouragement to be still, to be more peaceful, to cultivate wholesome states of mind. So when you're sitting, just sitting in itself is a great opportunity already. Opportunity just to rest. So much in our day, we're asked to do things, to move around, to think, to react, to respond. We're never encouraged just to be still. So sitting quietly for 5 or 10 minutes, regardless of what the mind is peaceful or not, just resting the body, just being the way things are, being with your mind the way it is. Allowing the process, the mental process to happen, whatever they may happen to be. It's a great blessing in itself already. Whether you get a moment of peace, that's just an extra icing. So a lot of times, a great practice, if you want to increase a sense of well-being, increase a sense of joy in the life, is to have a mind of gratitude, mind of appreciation, of appreciating what you already have, instead of what's missing in your life, what's missing in the world. It's a great tool. I always encourage people. People say, oh, I'm not so happy, I'm depressed. Think of 3 things in the morning when you wake up that you can be grateful for. It don't have to be a complicated thing. You're living in Australia. That's a pretty good blessing. It could be, it can be a lot worse. You live in a war-torn country in the Middle East somewhere. A place with earthquakes and tsunamis. You live in a state that's a great blessing. You have a body and a mind that allows you to cultivate wholesome states. You have an opportunity to do wholesome states, to do wholesome acts, to practice generosity, to help others. It's a great blessing. It's just to be here. So why you don't need things to be perfect to be happy. You build upon the foundation of goodness that you already have. Another way, just to kind of cultivate a sense of well-being, sense of happiness, sense of joy. And I get that. People say, oh, I'm coming. That's true. Things are not going well. I'm depressed. I'm not happy, Ajahn. What should I do? My advice is that, you want to be happy, you want to be free from suffering. Make somebody else happy. Instead of focusing on me and my happiness, and I've got to do something. I got to go to the saunas and get a pedicure. I got to go on holiday to make me happier. I got to go shopping. It's not happy. Try to focus that resources on others. Try to look around in your life, in your family, in your workplace, and try to make another person happy. It's the law of karma. Whatever you give away comes back to you. So because we live in a society that says, looking out for number one only. I've got to do whatever I'm happy. I've got to find a monastery. But I'm going to do very little work and lots of free time. I've got to do this. It's all about me. Doesn't make you happy, really, truly. Find a person that you have to give yourself to, that you can make them happy, make another person happy, and you'll see it's amazing. It's something that I came upon and I reflect on, thinking of growing up in a Catholic family, and we, obviously got associated with the church. And I would go to these kind of soup, they have church night, and where, lots of the nuns, cook and offer food and all that stuff. And they're the happiest people I see. I'm like, why are these people happy? They're on their feet all day long, staying in a hot kitchen. But when they serve you, they're so happy. I'm like, what's going on here? Never understood that. And now as a Buddhist practitioner, looking back, I can see, it's the power of wholesome states, the power of giving, the power of making other people happy. You just, it comes back to you. And also you're letting go of this sense of self. The more we attach to this self, these feelings, me and my feelings, and my thoughts, my emotions, the more the world shrinks. It's just me and myself, my problems, or not problems. Yeah. But the more we can expand aware of consciousness, instead of looking at ourselves, just look around us. How can we improve the world around us? How we improve the people around us? How we can engender a sense of increase, a sense of well-being and happiness in the people that share the space with, share the moment with. As we do that, you'll see your sense of happiness and well-being will increase naturally. The more, the more we give, the more we let go. And that is the path to happiness, to a sense of well-being. Because in the end, there's nothing that belongs to us anyway. The body will do its thing and fade away. The mind was the same. What wealth we accumulated goes to the taxman or heirs. Relationship comes and goes. Achievements moves on. But we learn how to let go into the present moment. We'll learn how to let go of our attachments. And we find that's where true happiness happens. Such and peace. Because you're not holding on to anything. You're not holding anything. There's no fear. You see that when you hold on to things, fear, anxiety comes because you're trying to protect what is yours, what you believe to be yours. But nothing is really yours. And you can see it, reflect on it, you can see it clearly. The body we think is ours, we can move around, but when the aches come, the sickness come, we can't tell it to go away. We take the medicine, and sometimes it goes away, sometimes it doesn't. So the more we looked inward, the more we can see more clearly that bodies are. And the mind is the same thing. We've all been meditating for many years. Can we get into jhanas just yet? Can we dispel the thinking? No. How many of us are sitting there trying to, well, I can't stop thinking, Ajahn. Of course not. It's the trying to stop thinking that makes the thinking even worse. But after a while, we get the hint. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to be happy, whatever's happening in the mind. I'm just going to be with the thoughts when they come. Just going to be with the drowsiness when they come. Be with the doubt. And then pretty soon, those things fade away and disappear on their own. There's so much, I don't know. In life and in practice, nothing is inherently bad. Nothing is inherently, evil. We're smack in the middle of the city, and yes, it can be a bit noisy. Yes, rent is expensive. But it's still not impossible to find peace and stillness. It's still possible to train your mind. You can still practice generosity, helping others around you. You can still practice meditation in a quiet room. Buddhist library is smack in the middle of the town. Still a very, very quiet space to come and practice. There's so much opportunity, really, to train the mind, to increase a sense of well-being. So it's how we relate to our situation that will increase suffering or decrease suffering. So it's never about the external stuff. So, you find yourself unhappy, you find yourself annoyed, irritated, anxious, it's good to ask, how am I relating to my situation at the moment? How am I relating to the things that I experience, my experience at the moment? Am I relating with unruly, high expectations? Am I relating out of anxiety, of ill will? Or am I relating out of, of acceptance, of surrendering, of love? We do live in a world that moves very quickly. We encourage us to do things. Even Buddhist practitioners, there's always one more retreat I can go, Bhante. There's always the next hot Ajahn that I've got to go to. The next interesting monastery, the next cave, the next mountain I've got to go to and meditate. And that's where my practice will all come together. I know it. My practice, I'm going to be enlightened when I find the right teacher who gives me the right meditation object and the right retreat. That'll be enlightened. That'll be something just wonderful. It's never going to happen. Well, it might. I don't know. I should never. It might. But the thing is, it always comes back to how you're relating to the situation, how you're relating to the present moment. Because you can't be anywhere else. Right? So a lot of time is, a sense of well-being, a sense of clarity will increase once the mind slows down and becomes more still. The limited society always encourage just reaching out for happiness somewhere else. So it's next moment. When I get my raise, I'll be happy. When I go on a holiday, then I'll be really happy. When I retire, I'll be really happy. Happiness is always something there to reach for. And maybe closer somewhere else. So the training and encouragement for each and every one of us practitioners is to always go back to the present moment. How am I relating to situation right here, right now? You can be happy right now, right here. And that's the only place you can truly be happy, really. You can be happy. You might meet your great teacher next week. You might do the perfect retreat next week. But you have to wait till next week. So why wait next week until you be happy? Why be happy now? And if you meet the great teacher, he gives you the perfect mantra to launch right into samadhi. That's great. You go to the perfect retreat in some lovely mountain where the food is just perfect. The cushion just sits on and you're floating on the cloud. Nobody snores, nobody nods, nobody makes any noise at all. It's just the best retreat in the whole world. Sure, but that's next month. But until then, you can be happy right here, right now, each and every day. Just by accepting, bringing a sense of joy and gratitude into the present moment. There's something that's not out of reach, something that each and every one of us can cultivate. That's something, some high idea that we have to wait. Just to kind of mostly a reminder that all the happiness, all the joy, all the love that you ever want from the world, it's not out there. It's already here. It's already in here, right here, inside you. You just have to slow down, be still, long down, and allow those things to develop. Allow those things to unfold, to blossom forth. It's in the move and the chasing that happiness becomes further away. So while you realize, okay, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to be anybody else. With all your obstacles, all your greed and anger and irritation, you still can be happy, really. You still lessen your suffering. Just the acceptance, slowing down, the being. So, let's say a short talk. You probably won't liberate your suffering tonight, but at least I can give you some pointers to encourage you to try to investigate suffering. Stop trying to run away from it. Try to understand it a bit more. Maybe through acceptance, through embracing, through surrendering to the situation. We find the escape. We know and lessen our suffering. And it's something that we can do something about it, each and every one of us. Yeah, and the skillful way is just, looking at things with gratitude and appreciation. And encourage, try to understand, reach to lessen our suffering through active service, by making others happy. Whatever you want, give that to others. Safety, sense of well-being, appreciation, respect, love, whatever it is, give that up. And through that, and through the slowing down, the being still, you'll see the love, the care, it's already here. So we only get to truly be happy in the present moment. Yeah. So it's already here. No need to go anywhere else. Next moment, you don't have to be a better version. I'm going to meditate. I'm too angry. I'm going to meditate to be less angry. Anger is fine. There's nothing wrong with anger. Once you understand it, it fades away on its own. There's nothing wrong with anxieties and worries. Nothing wrong with thinking too much. It's the idea that we shouldn't be thinking at all. That we should be this perfect version of the Buddha, full of compassion and not jealous. I'm so jealous I can't be a Buddhist, Ajahn. No, it's okay. Everything belongs. Everything's good. Really. And through that, there's peace and stillness. And there's a lessening of the suffering. Okay? So I offer that for tonight, for your increasing sense of joy and happiness on this beautiful path. Okay? So I think Susan said there is about a 10 to 15 minute break, and then we'll come back for some Q&A. Okay? Great.
Bhante, the difference between pain and suffering.
Good question. The difference between pain and suffering. Yeah. Pain is obviously it's a sensation in the body, albeit maybe identifying as unpleasant sensation. Yeah. But it does, and that's I was saying earlier. The Buddha said it's the first kind of suffering, unpleasant feeling in the body. But maybe the suffering is more of the mental component that we bring to it. The not wanting, they want to escape from it. The winching, the why has this happened to me, or the proliferation around it. Oh, there's a pain in my knee. I wonder, is that a permanent damage? I did a permanent damage to my my cartilage. Should go see a doctor. No, then I can never sit again. This is so awful, and I've got to have an operation, and my insurance is not really up to scratch, and this, and the proliferation on and on about that. That's more suffering. So there is pain, and that's something we cannot do anything about it. There's unpleasant feeling, physical feeling, something that we just have to accept, having this human body. That eventually there will be unpleasant feelings from time to time. And as you get older, more so. But that doesn't have to be a source of suffering. And this is where the practice of meditation, this is where the cultivation of wholesome states come into play. And you see that around. There's beautiful old people who age gracefully, who accept predicament. Yes, my body is not as energetic as it was 20 years ago. Got this, bad back and hip operation, but I'm still okay. And there's people who are just winching all day long about different things, and that's because they haven't worked with the mind. Yeah, and that's the unnecessary suffering that we add to the world. Yeah, so there can be pain, but the suffering is completely optional. Yeah. Thank you.
Some kind of unhappy incident coming to you all the time, it causes unhappiness. So do you have to sort of contemplate, what is it? Is it my attachment? Is it my pride? Is it my ego? you got to contemplate and also get to know yourself better. So otherwise it keeps on coming back and it's causing you suffering.
Yes.
Yeah. So do we all the time have to contemplate to get to know ourselves better? What is it?
It does. A lot of time it's we remember something unpleasant. Somebody called us stupid, made fun of the way we look, and we keep thinking, how dare she say that about me? I am not stupid. I've got a nice haircut. It's a beautiful dress I have. I just spent a lot of money. She can't criticize the way I look. And it's our pride, our attachment to ourselves, different aspects of ourselves, our intelligence, our great taste, our sparkling personality. We like, no one else to think, yeah. So it's whatever we attach to, and that gets poked, then we get annoyed. And the more we remember, the more we can say that by inference, the more we attach to this idea of ourselves. And then when that got poked or it's questioned, then we get very annoyed. So something we feel is threatening our sense of self. So keep reflecting, what is so bad? To make mistake, to not be the smartest person in the room, to not remember things, to say stupid things from time to time or forget things. That's okay. And then they do reflect, I'm just proud, a proud person. So I'm just, get annoyed when someone questions my intelligence or questions my beliefs or my opinions. Yeah. And so just say, I'm still attached, but that's okay. Through attaching, this is something that comes from attaching to a certain aspect of ourselves. And when people don't give us the respect that we think we deserve or whatever, then we get annoyed. So so I'm not I haven't let go of this sense of self as much as I thought I could. Yeah, and reflect and keep reflecting. This is what it feels like when people question or when you feel threatened in the sense of self. Then hopefully you reflect further and say, this self is not something solid. It moves. The smartest person will get Alzheimer's disease once, and then they forget. And you can see then the suffering in older people as they age, with my parents, very highly smart. My mother was very intelligent, but now she's losing her mind because of, breaking of the body. There's so much suffering if you don't contemplate it. Because you're like, no, I used to remember. And it's like, we go in so much. It's used to have near photographic memory. So we never use Google, dare touch it, the maps. No, I know where I'm going. And now the mind is kind of breaking apart. There's major suffering because she still refuses to use maps and Google. And we get to intersections like left or right, Mom. Oh, I don't know. It's like, okay. Constantly losing key, which is fine. But the frustration that you see that she's experiencing over there, it's, a bit sad at times. Like, that's okay. This is what happens as you get older. Just embrace it, work with it. Instead of kind of, no, 20 years ago, this would never happen. Of course, it's not 20 years ago. This is, you're in your 70s. You're not expected to have full memory like you were in your 40s, whatever. Yeah. So you see, a lot of times it's just the attachment to an aspect of ourselves. And then, and as the body, you see, ages and changes. There's a lot of suffering that may happen if we haven't learned to let go, to change with things, to kind of, and that's kind of the process of contemplation, reflecting, adjusting our perception of the body, perception of the mind. What we were 5 years ago is different than what we are now. So constantly updating that. Yeah, and then the more we learn to adjust, to adapt, then hopefully the less that we will suffer as a result of that. So every time we do suffer, it's a great contemplation. Why am I suffering all this? Why does this hurt so much? That somebody says a little comment they made. Why does it hurt when they question my opinions, or my belief, or my taste, or my intelligence, or my goodness? They call me stingy. I'm not stingy. I'm a practicing Buddhist. I'm very generous. I go volunteer at the Buddhist library all the time. How dare they call me stingy? Maybe we are stingy in other aspects. Yeah, so just kind of reflect on those kind of things. Does that make sense? Comments?
in some sense, I'm happy to hear what you say. I've heard it before. That's the Buddhist line. But I get more it speaks more to me the Hindu way. The Hindu way is saying, okay, in older age, you're losing some of your faculties and whatever, but you'll get it as a newborn in future life. So it's not really lost. So now you think your grieving is because you think everything will be lost, but it won't be lost. It will be just shifted, and then you get it with the new birth. And again, you have to work on yourself and do good to the world. So I prefer this kind of, it speaks more to me, this kind of teaching. Sure. And even though there's reincarnation in Buddhism, often, it's no comfort from that. It's just not really comforting it. It's just some kind of parts of our mind that it gets somehow. But usually Buddhists don't talk about it. So it is then no comfort to us.
That you don't get these things back.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the Buddhist kind of perspective about getting things back is that getting things, even body or mind, is not that great, because there's usually a fair amount of stress and suffering involved in it. You gotta, wear nappies again. You gotta grow up. You gotta learn how to walk. You gotta go to school again. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. you find your loved one. You find your loved one, but then you gotta be separated again for the 1,500,000 times. And then you gotta die. You gotta suffer the pain again, losing your hearing and losing your mind. Yeah. So in Buddhist cosmology, but it's not to say there is still beauty and there's love and there's generosity. All those are still there, but a lot of life, as we know, it involves a certain amount of stress. And the ultimate goal for Buddhism is not to get these things back, but to learn to live with them that allows them to fade away. And that is what Nibbana is. Kind of the fading away of things. First your body and then any mental states. So true happiness comes from just allowing them to fade away. Yeah. And not getting more things. I'm not looking for my great love in my next lifetime. I'm not looking for, the great body, the perfect body that I was when I was 21 years old. I'm quite happy for the things that I have to fade away. But
it is true when you're talking.
Yeah, sure.
When we just hear it.
Yeah.
But there is a deep desire. So I think it's like when I was 20 or 19, I thought of traveling so much. So I had to travel around the world. And you know what? I exhausted that desire.
Yes.
So I think we need to exhaust it. So if we just say, no, the Buddhists, no, I believe. No, if you do it, and finally it drops away.
No, it's true. I think, but the dropping doesn't come from exhausting. The dropping comes from wisdom. So you don't have to not necessarily travel the world, but you can travel enough to say, one mountain is the same as the next mountain. You don't have to see every single mountain. No? Okay. One beach is not the same as the other beach? No. Chicken is chicken wherever you go? No. No. No, but it's the nice thing about practice and cultivation is not one way to practice. You find that the Hindu way works for you, please, by all means. I'm not here to convert, right? I don't get extra points for converting people to Buddhist camps. I'm here just to offer skillful means for you to work with. If you find it's useful, please use it. You find it really pathetic, just leave it in this room and we'll be fine. Yeah. Yes.
Can I ask you about this teaching of no self?
Uh-huh.
Is it something that's absolutely true, or is it rather just a strategy for dealing with the problems of life?
I think the issues of non-self it's quite a huge topic. And it has many, many aspects to it. But I think one way to work with it on a day-to-day basis is just to examine, like the Buddha said, especially this body. What is it that you take to be yours, this body? Yeah. You know. And what's happened over the years? You know, where's that little teenage boy who runs around playing soccer? Where's the little baby? And where's the old man? Which part of it is you? Yeah. And then if it's your body, you know, can you control it? Yeah. So understand that this body comes from the 4 elements. Comes from your gene, your DNA of your parents. You had a different father. Your father is a different, you know, nationality than he is now. Then you'll not be physically the same person. Yeah, so you see that it's nothing essential you sitting there. You're sitting there through thousands and millions of conditions coming together and disbanding. And that will continue to happen. And a lot of it is out of your control. I mean, can you really control how much food you absorb into your intestines? Can you really control the rate of the blood flow through your veins? Can you really control the electrical impulses, you know, whirling through your brain? You know, as you understand the body, you see that there's so many things have to come together for it to work that is out of our control that we don't even know about. So that's where the idea of, you know, kind of self comes into. You know, the self comes in different aspects, but the body is one of the obvious things or the easy thing to contemplate that is truly not self. And the more we learn about it, I think we went to a display of the body world where they cut the bodies apart and, you know, display the muscles and all like that. And they say, just in your intestines, they're like, you know, billions and trillions of, you know, kind of bacteria that they're, you know, colonizing your intestine. They think that their own, that's their world. So you think the bits and pieces are ours, and then we're one whole thing. But when you start looking at it closely, it's just a whole bunch of systems and network that comes together for a certain time, and that will break apart, you know, when those conditions don't hold again. Yeah. So in that self, in one aspect of ourselves, it's that way, is that we don't really own it physically. We can use it and control it a little bit, but then it goes according to physical laws. Yeah. So that's where kind of, you know, the self is nothing that essential use behind all this physically. Yeah. It fades away and it moves. Yeah. And same with the mental aspect as well. That's a good start. Just to explore, and then you know, it also is a reality, but it's something you have to experience yourself. But in the present moment, you can take it as a working hypothesis. It's not an absolute yes or no. It's just okay. Buddhist is non-self. Well, let me explore that. Yeah, and then let me try to relate with, you know, from that perspective through my life. And does it help or not? Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
So my question was, I think it's easier to stay present when things are pleasant, but when things are more difficult or challenging, you're more likely to distract yourself. And so just wanted to ask, what is some wisdom to sort of tell yourself, to convince yourself to sort of stay present in more challenging situations, which is harder, I think.
I don't know. I think sometimes when things are pleasant, we get sucked into it, right? And we don't really contemplate. Like, we want this pleasant feeling to last for a long, long time. So we don't really think that it's also temporary and permanent and it's going to fade away. And yeah, so when we experience, let's say, pleasant feelings, let's say you go on a holiday, I guess there's something that draws you more to stay in the present moment. Like say you're having you're a foodie and you're having a good meal. So I guess, you know, that the taste or whatever helps you ground you into the present moment. But also it's a feel for also delusion, because the next thing is, oh, I want this to last for a long, long time, and my next meal is going to be like this as well. So the mind also kind of proliferates into the future, projecting this state to last. And the same with the unpleasant. Sometimes, and it depends on your inclinations. Some people, I get the sense anyway, are more present when they suffer And so that's why they go into negative states of mind, because when they suffer, you can feel it also, the adrenaline in the body. It's like, oh, this is so wrong, the injustice, I want to change this, and Donald Trump is so stupid, he annoys me, whatever. And people rouse up all this anger to make them feel more alive. So it depends on your characteristics, that what rouses up this feeling, being more, whether it's pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling. But ultimately, it's always kind of, as a practitioner, meditator, always kind of bring back. Yeah, it is, am I present? And I just identify the feeling. Is this pleasant or unpleasant? And it's also like, it's impermanent. This is going to pass. Yeah. But it's true. Sometimes we do get, let's say, when you say unpleasant feeling, is it mental, physical, both, or? That's true, and that is kind of a very kind of standard approach to such a situation. Or you just had a big fight with your boss, you get just chewed out by your boss, and you said that yes, different people react different way. You can just fume over it, or sometimes people say, I don't want to think about this. I want to go and have an ice cream or something, or have a walk, and trying to escape from that situation, and that's a fair reaction. But a lot of times it's also just, and I always encourage people, when you are experiencing an unpleasant situation, mental feelings or physical feelings, really just try to stay with it. Find it in the body. All, mental, emotional states has a physical counterpart. So say, where is it I'm feeling? Where is it am I feeling the stress in the body? And try to stay with it. And that's how to, ground you in the present moment. And also it diffuses the thinking, because when you're unhappy, the mind starts to spin out and it has this long narrative that why this shouldn't happen and how terrible this is and what you're going to do to get rid of yourself. But it's okay, and you can sense, okay, I'm stressed. Where's my stress in my body right now? I'm just not going to focus on what the trigger is, how I got here, how am I going to get away from it, but how am I feeling right now, right here? And you just encourage people just to go into the body. Try to relax that first. Yeah, and just by staying in the present, you'll see that the stress starts to decrease as long as you're not adding by thinking more about it, by getting more angry or irritated. But just stay in the body. Where's the stress in the body? How do I relax? How do I release? A few deep breaths. You'll find that actually it helps you stay in the present moment, and also diffuses the irritation or the anger or the stress that has the potential to build up even more. Because so much of our stress is just internally generated and completely optional. Stress is just our reaction to an unpleasant situation. Do we accept it? Yeah, okay, I used to, work in a stressful situation, but I didn't feel stressed. Like, yeah, they pay you money to do things. Of course it's slightly stressful. It's not a big deal. That's what jobs do. They don't pay you to sit around and not be stressful and be happy and show up when you feel like it. And projects have deadline and they have expectations, but that's just the nature of a workplace. Yeah. But if you accept that, then it doesn't have itself be a source of additional stress. But an additional practice is, just to go into the body and locate that and work and kind of diffuse that, with relaxation techniques, relaxation technique. You'll find that it's just after about 5 or 10 minutes that you're actually feeling a lot better physically and mentally, because you're not feeding the anger or the stress through more thinking about it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Is this on? Okay. My question would be is that I do agree that you say that everyone experiences suffering and you can't run away from that. That's just a part of humanity. Although I think when you're processing and going through the actual transition of suffering, it's good to reflect on it or accept it. And you've spoken a lot about accepting it and accepting that you can't control that suffering is going to come into your life and it is going to be out of your control and it's always going to be present. you've suggested that giving and being generous and kind of giving love to others kind of diffuses the suffering. It kind of liberates you. Are there any other tools or methods that you could suggest or put forward to help someone kind of internalize their own suffering? Because I feel like it's good to reflect and analyze it and maybe let it go and move on and be present. But as the lovely lady said earlier, is that there is the tendency in the mind for the suffering to kind of come back.
Yes.
And then you need to remind yourself again of the same things and let go and accept and being present. Is this a cycle that we should be expecting to go through, or are there other tools that you can kind of put forward? Please.
There is it's in a sense it's a cycle that when you said, oh, I thought I worked through it, and it comes back in. Well, obviously, it's not ready to disappear. So sometimes instead of going, okay, I'm going to contemplate and get rid of you, sometimes the thing is, you're my friend. It's an unpleasant situation, unpleasant. You're my friend. Okay, you're here to teach me something. What can I learn from you? So instead of trying to find techniques to dismiss the unpleasant situation that arises, go, okay, I'm going to sit with you. I'll sit for long. I'll try to investigate and learn from you. And then when you can stay with me as long as you want. When you're ready to leave, you can leave. And it's just being with things that we allow the energy to dissipate itself. And then after that, it fades away on its own. Sometimes we're too keen to kind of, I'm going to use my samadhi power to squash you, or I'm going to use my investigative power to cut you away, slice you out of my life. And that gives it more energy. And it might go away then. Buddha says, oh, I'm permanent. Okay, I'm permanent. Okay, bye now. And I kind of, oh, wow, damn, you come back again. Here you are. I thought I impermanent you. And now you're back. And it's like, okay, so it hasn't cut deep enough. So after a while, you try those two techniques and it doesn't work. You're like, okay, you know what? Okay, we're going to be good friends. I'm going to learn from you. You're here to teach me something. And it's true. Whatever is coming back, there's a lesson for us. And once we learn that lesson, it fades away. It doesn't come back. Yeah? So just say, okay, there's a lesson here somewhere. If you come back, okay, you must be trying to teach me something else that I'm missing. And that's okay. I'm here to learn. Got 10,000 lifetimes to go through this. That's okay. I'm got here. Patient, not worrying. Yeah. So it's kind of instead of, because we are too quick to try to, use different techniques to cut away these things. And a lot of times those are the same energy, the grasping that brings it back. Because we haven't fully understood that situation.
So
that's
I suppose when you are suffering and that does keep coming back, and you have to rather than reminding yourself to be present, you might need to spend more time with it. That's
right. Just like, okay, here you are, you're trying to teach me something, so I'm going to sit here and try to kind of feel through the body, or just, okay, what are you trying to teach me? This feeling of sadness, a feeling irritation, why am I here? What am I attached to that I was so annoyed about? Yeah, what is going on? I thought I was this, but okay, we're here again. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, because this kind of open reflection of allowing things to be and see what kind of, settles from it. Instead of having a fixed strategy and go, cut this out of samadhi, mantra you away, Buddha, 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 Buddha. No, still here.
Thank you.
Just
very much.
sit with it, see.
Okay, think good things about the person and say, okay, you were stressed when you said that.
That's right.
You were not yourself. I forgive you. End of matter.
You can try, like I said, you can try all those things, but if they come back, they're like, okay, I'm going to meta you out of my existence. Yes, we can use these tools in different ways. And if they do come back, then we have to reflect, okay, these tools are not quite effective just yet. And what else have we do? Yeah, what else can I learn from this? What other tools I can come up with? And that's the main thing, is just be creative, try different things out. There's not one thing that fits all problems and situations. Yeah. And really have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. Yeah, just, unpleasant thing, unpleasant mental state. We have, we all have them. We haven't died from it. and we move on. But so it's all good. Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
It seems to me from both from what you've been saying, but also from my own experience and thinking throughout the last 50 years or so, that perhaps the single biggest cause of suffering is our very desire to avoid suffering, and that the more we run away from this suffering, the more it pursues us and the more we give energy to it because we don't want to deal with it. And that the moment that we decide, as you just said, to sit with it, then it kind of dissolves. And that what makes suffering is our very desire to be rid of it.
Very true. Yeah. Like I think Ajahn Chah said, what joy to know that there's no happiness to be found in the world. You're free from being happy. There you go. So it's a great liberation. You don't have to be happy anymore. Okay, you can be miserable. It is the running away that we are doomed to repeat our mistakes. Yes.
My question is moksha and nibbana.
Uh-huh.
So the Indian scholar, they want to say that the both are similar, moksha and nibbana.
Moksha means moga, delusion.
Moksha means like liberation. It's also liberation. It's Sanskrit.
Okay.
And nibbana. So sometimes I have a question. Why Buddha he left Rajagriha to ascetic Rishi Alakarama and Putra Dukkha.
Yeah.
So in modern time also, like sometime I have confused about the meditation. Like yesterday I listened, ABC listen. There one scholar in the Sydney University, Sudhamma Pala, she talked very nice about meditation. Like I did also number of meditation for retreat. The 10-day meditation, like 5 days only for pain. When my body became painful, then my mind became calm and relaxed. After 10 days again, mind is wandering. So that's why, how can we finally, control our mind to find the final way, the liberation.
How do we control our mind so that we can reach final liberation?
Yeah, because the 10 day, after 10 days again mind wandering. Because when I did a number of course, Wenga, Mahasi, a lot of in Thailand also, the 40 kinds of meditation technique. But again, mind is wandering. So,
yeah, I think these meditation courses are good, but they're the beginning of the practice. That's something that we, have to continue doing that for many, many years. Because our mind, the habits that we get to, takes lifetimes. That we have these ingrained habits that takes lifetimes. That's been building over lifetimes. So it takes a while to start to unravel these habits. It starts to change.
It is necessary to go forest for meditation.
Excuse me?
It is necessary to go the forest.
Generally, it is strongly encouraged to be in the forest, to be in a quiet place, to enhance your meditation. Certainly in the beginning, the Buddha was, as we quoted many times, was born in the forest. He practiced, gained enlightenment in the forest, and he stayed in the forest. He was fully enlightened. He could, be peaceful anywhere. He can be peaceful in, the marketplace, the palace, but he chose to live in the forest for a large part of his life. One is that it's just naturally, inherently quiet, more calming, more conducive to a peaceful lifestyle. But two, also to set up an example of ways to train his monks and nuns. Yeah. But having said that, I know that I'm in the middle of the city. You don't have to wait till you're in a forest to practice meditation or stillness. You can practice anywhere. Like I said, a lot of suffering is in here. It's not in the forest because, like I said, we have a beautiful forest, but not that many people living there. Otherwise, Sydney would all be there, but everybody's here. And that's fine. You have jobs and responsibility. You don't need to, it's nice and it's useful, especially, to cultivate peaceful states of mind, to be in a quiet place, but not necessary. Yeah. And you have to wait to be in the forest when you don't have that many opportunities. Then it's a waste opportunity that we can cultivate stillness, anywhere, anytime. Especially if you're in the city, yeah. And cultivate that sense of stillness. Like I said, I had a good meditation, very good meditation sitting in the back of the library. You don't need to be a super quiet place. And even, in the monastery, very quiet. People still complain. Bhante, there's a plane flying over. Oh, I gotta get a different place. There's a plane. It's like 1 hour a day. The birds are very noisy. Yeah, so you have a noisy mind. Anywhere is noisy.
I talk about like moksha and nibbana.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Anguttara Nikaya,
yep.
the Buddha say about the 10 magga.
10
magga.
Mm-hmm.
And Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, we have 8 magga, like 8.
Eightfold path. Eightfold path. Yeah,
but
sure.
When we read in the 10 Nipata, Anguttara Nikaya,
yeah.
Buddha talk about
the tenfold path.
Tenfold path, about Sammayana, Samma Vimutti.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that?
To be frank, I do know those passages, but I don't try to base a lot of my practice strictly on the sutta. No, it's like a guideline, and I'm going the same direction, but I don't kind of compare my experience of saying, okay, where exactly, how does this match with the sutta? I just know that, am I increasing sense of well-being? Is the mind getting more clear? Am I reflecting on the body in a way that cuts away my attachment? Am I reflecting on my mental states that cuts away those attachments? So I don't kind of trying to match or graph my experience onto the state so much. But like I said, there are many monks who are quite knowledgeable in those kind of scholarly terms, and I can refer to Ajahn Brahmali in Perth is very good. So maybe you can kind of chat with him regarding how the Eightfold Path correlate to the Tenfold Path when the Buddha talked about, and what's the difference, why the significant by adding those 2 extra terms at the end. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Buddha recommends spiritual friendships. How can we use that to lessen the suffering, and what qualities to look for in a spiritual friend?
Good question. Spiritual friendship, it's interesting. It's right, because Ananda said spiritual friendship was the half of the holy life, and the Buddha admonished him, said, "Don't say that. Do not say so, Ananda. Spiritual friendship is 100% of the holy life." So that's very important. Yeah. And how to cultivate that. Because it's tricky. Some people we connected with. But in terms of spiritual friendship, are they encouraging wholesome states in us? Are they being around them? We find that we experience more peace and stillness. We find it more beneficial. So it's good to kind of to reflect on that. And but a lot of time is I found in my practice is while it's useful to live in a community that encourages wholesome states, it varies how much it matters in the practice. I think initially it does matter more so when the meditation hasn't come together. But once things start to come together, you'll find that you don't need community as much. So there's a saying in the Sangha, when things are not going well, then it's good to stay in the community to experience the support and the connection and friendship the kind of spiritual friendship. But then when the practice starts to mature, then that's where you go off and you spend more time by yourself. And the other thing is that everybody has different kind of perspective and needs when it comes to spiritual friendship. Some people are more independent. Other people find that they're more sociable or can benefit or are more influenced by positive friendship. So you have to know for yourself, what type are you, more independent, or are you more that can benefit from being around other people that encourages a communal sense of living, that we're going on the same direction. And it varies. Sometimes you feel you need more, other times you just want to be by yourself. So something that you have to kind of work out for yourself as well. Yeah. And in terms of finding spiritual friendship, it's tricky. How do you know this person is your spiritual friend? I think when it comes down to it, ask yourself, the association, am I bringing more wholesome states? Is my practice deepening? My mind can be more calm and clear? Am I feeling, wholesome states arising and wholesome states not arising? And that goes for friendship, places you practice, community you join, whether these things come together. And sometimes it's hard to know for sure. But the wonderful thing is that, there's lots of room for experimentation. Stay with a person for, period of time, a couple of years, and see whether, these things are growing. Staying with the community, and if they're not growing, then you just, change your mind and move to a different place to see whether these wholesome states are rising. Yeah. Oh, but the other thing is, no community is perfect, and no teacher is perfect. Not such thing as a perfect monastery or a perfect teacher. Actually, having an imperfect teacher, I found was a very good teacher. But
One more question.
Okay, yes.
Why is being grateful or gratitude, why is it such a rare human quality? So rarely I hear people being grateful to this beautiful country. And for simple things, we are dangerous. So what would be the cause to create gratitude, the feeling of gratitude? Because everything comes from causes.
I think the kind of the condition for feeling gratitude is just to look for things that you already have. Looks for things that are already right, instead of looking what's missing. Because sometimes we live in a world that always kind of have this kind of unrealistic kind of expectation that, things should be perfect all the time, and, the government should be really enlightened beings who look for welfare for others and work selflessly. But, people have desires and craving, and these things come up. So, but sometimes we lose perspective. So that's why I always, encourage people, do as an active meditation, active conscious act of directing your mind every day. 3 things that you can be happy with. 3 things you have. 3 things you can be appreciative for. And then more and more research. I mean, there's recently, I think there's an article in the New York Times or something that said, that write that thank you note now rather than later, because they find that just expressing thank you to another person, we might think, it's a small thing, no one pays attention. They find interesting finding was that one, that it increases a sense of well-being on the person writing it, but also 2, it increases the other person as well. Whoever you send it to, even though you think, they're very busy and they probably get it all the time, they really appreciate that. Really made their day. And it doesn't matter whether it's, it's a good, well-written letter, it's, something truly meaningful, or it's just, thank you for, that smile you gave me, or thank you, opening the door, leaving the door open, or you did a really good job, whatever. It can be a small thing, but the people, doing it receive a lot of happiness, and the people receiving also receive. So it's a wonderful act all around. Yeah. And it's very rare that you get such a positivity from a single act. Both, the doer and the receiver both experience, a bump in the happiness. Yeah. Yes.
It's an enormously small thing, but following on from that, quite often I'm buying one small item in the supermarket. I walk up and people say, "You go ahead of me." I always make sure I say thank you twice. I say thank you when they do it, and then after I pay the money and they're coming up, I say thank you again. You've got to say, because it's such a nice thing they do. And the second thank you kind of says, really, I mean it.
That's right.
Makes me feel good, and I think it makes them feel good. It isn't much, but it's a start.
It is, and it's like, it's about mental training. It's the small things that we do on a daily basis that starts to add up. It starts to become a more ingrained habit. Instead of taking things for granted or a feeling of entitlement. We live in the world that we get that a lot. That I should have my right to receive Centrelink because I'm an Australian, or whatever. My right to receive perfect Medicare because I'm Australian, I'm here, or whatever. And it just comes up, and it's good to kind of have an antidote towards that, because the sudden entitlement will bring disappointment and a lot of suffering along its way. Yeah.
Just adding on to that.
Yeah.
Just as humans, I think we want towards being more negative biased, so that's also an antidote to that as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for all your questions and comments and inputs. Now we have a few announcements.